This was supposed to be the happiest night of Brooklyn Beckham's life, a billionaire wedding, a legendary family, cameras flashing, music playing, the world watching. But according to explosive insider claims, one single dance destroyed everything. Because what happened on that dance floor wasn't romantic, it wasn't spontaneous, and it definitely wasn't harmless. Sources now allege that the wedding dance wasn't just awkward. It was humiliating, symbolic, and intentional a moment. So shocking that guests reportedly froze, smiles vanished, and whispers spread like wildfire through the room. And here's the part no one saw coming. That dance, insiders claim, was the exact moment Brooklyn realized he would never truly be his own person inside the Beckham empire. Not as a husband. Not as a man, not as a son. Within hours, emotions reportedly exploded backstage. Within days, communication allegedly collapsed, and within months, Brooklyn Beckham had quietly begun walking away. Not temporarily, but for good. No reconciliation, no apologies, no turning back. So, what really happened during that wedding? Dance. Why do insiders say it felt more like a power move than a celebration? And how did one moment shatter one of the most powerful celebrity families on the planet for decades? The Beckham name wasn't just famous, it was untouchable. It represented perfection, discipline, unity, a family that seemed immune to the scandals that destroyed other celebrity dynasties. David Beckham wasn't just a football legend. He was a global symbol of control and excellence. Victoria Beckham wasn't just a pop star turned designer. She was the architect of an image that never cracked under pressure. Together, they built something bigger than fame. They built brand Beckham. And at the very center of that brand stood Brooklyn Beckham, the firstborn, the heir, the one. Everyone expected to carry the legacy forward. From the moment Brooklyn could walk, cameras followed. From the moment he could speak, expectations were attached. Insiders claim he grew up understanding one unspoken rule: nothing you do belongs only to you. Every move was watched, every decision was discussed, every mistake was magnified. To the public, Brooklyn looked privileged, but sources now allege that behind closed doors, he felt trapped inside a role he never auditioned for. As he got older, the pressure intensified. Modeling, critics mocked him. Photography, accusations of nepotism followed. Acting, dismissed before it even began. And insiders claimed the worst part wasn't the criticism, it was the silence. Friends allege Brooklyn felt like failure was not an option, yet success never felt like his own. Because no matter what he tried, it was always framed as a Beckham move. And then Nicola Peltz entered his life. Wealthy, confident, independent, and, according to sources, completely uninterested in playing a supporting role in anyone else's empire. From the very beginning, insiders claim Nicola and the Beckham family clashed, not loudly, not publicly, but philosophically. Different ideas of family, different boundaries, different definitions of respect. Where the Beckhams allegedly valued image and structure, Nicola valued emotional safety and independence. Where Brooklyn had learned to stay quiet, Nicola allegedly encouraged him to speak. Friends say that relationship changed everything for the first time. Brooklyn reportedly saw a version of life where he wasn't a brand asset, where love didn't come with conditions, where family wasn't performative, and once that door opened, insiders say there was no closing it again. Still, when Brooklyn proposed, the world celebrated a glamorous engagement, a union of wealth, fame, and legacy. But behind the smiles, sources claim tension was already brewing. Wedding planning became a battlefield, not of flowers and menus, but of control. Who decides tradition, who leads the narrative, and who steps back? Insiders allege small disagreements piled up quietly, nothing explosive, nothing public. Yet. Because this wedding wasn't just a personal milestone, it was a global spectacle. Every detail would be watched, every moment would be analyzed. And according to sources, that's exactly why emotions were already running dangerously high when the big day arrived. Brooklyn wasn't just getting married. He was, allegedly, trying to redefine his identity in front of the entire world. And for a family built on absolute control of its image. That kind of shift is terrifying. Insiders claim that beneath the luxury, beneath the designer gowns and oceanfront views, something fragile was already cracking. And no one knew it yet. But one moment was about to expose it all, a moment so public, so symbolic, so emotionally charged, that once it happened, there would be no undoing it, and that moment. It was waiting on the dance floor, April 2022, Palm Beach, Florida. An oceanfront estate glowing under candlelight, crystal chandeliers reflecting off designer gowns, champagne flowing like water. On paper, this was the wedding of the decade. But insiders now claim the tension in the air was so thick. You could feel it before the music even started. Guests arrived smiling, posing, whispering, but behind the smiles, sources alleged something was already wrong. According to multiple insiders, Brooklyn looked distracted, not nervous, conflicted. Like someone standing at a crossroads, he wasn't sure he was allowed to cross. Then came the reception, the speeches landed, the applause echoed, and finally, the music changed. This was supposed to be their moment. The first dance, guests leaned forward, phones lifted. Cameras rolled, and then it happened. According to Explosive, insider claims the performer suddenly called out not Nicola's name, but Victoria Beckham's. At first, people thought it was a joke, a misunderstanding, a harmless slip. But the music didn't stop. Victoria reportedly stood. Brooklyn was allegedly pulled forward. And in front of hundreds of guests, cameras flashing, the moment unfolded. Sources claim the room went silent. Not romantic silence. Not emotional silence. Shock. One insider described it as the air leaving the room. Another said, "You could literally hear people stop breathing." And Nicola, according to multiple alleged witnesses, she froze. For a split second, she waited, expecting correction, an apology, her name to be called. It never was. Insiders claim Nicola walked away, visibly shaking. Tears streaming down her face as guests awkwardly looked away, unsure where to look or how to react. And Brooklyn, sources allege he didn't smile, didn't laugh, didn't pull away. He stood there. Trapped. Some guests reportedly assumed it was a planned moment. Others sensed immediately that it wasn't. Because, according to insiders, this didn't feel celebratory. It felt territorial. One source claimed it wasn't about dancing, it was about reminding everyone who still had control. By the time the song ended, the damage was already done, backstage. Insiders allege chaos erupted, raised voices, tears. Accusations flying. Nicola was reportedly inconsolable. Brooklyn allegedly demanded answers, and that's when, according to leaked insider accounts, a sentence was spoken that would haunt him. "You'll always be a Beckham first." That line, if true, changed everything. Because, according to people close to Brooklyn, that was the moment it clicked. This wasn't about tradition. This wasn't about family closeness. This was about ownership. And suddenly, the wedding didn't feel like a beginning. It felt like a warning. Insiders claim Brooklyn left the reception early. Not dramatically, not publicly. Quietly. And that's where the first twist comes in, because sources now allege that later that same night, long after the guests had gone, Brooklyn and Nicola made a private decision. A decision no one was supposed to know about. They allegedly agreed that this would be the last time their relationship would be controlled by anyone else. No more compromises. No more silent discomfort. No more pretending. And according to insiders, Brooklyn said something chilling: "I won't let this happen again." At the time, no one realized what that meant. But in the weeks that followed, subtle changes began appearing, changes that fans would later realize were signals, missed appearances, unanswered mentions, a sudden emotional distance. The wedding dance hadn't just ruined a night. It had triggered a chain reaction, and the scariest part, this was only the beginning, because what Brooklyn would allegedly do next would turn a private family fracture into a global spectacle. And once that next step happened, there would be no way back. What happened after the wedding dance didn't explode immediately, and that's what made it more terrifying, because, according to insiders, the fallout wasn't loud at first, it was quiet, calculated, and deliberate. In the days following the wedding, fans expected the usual flood of family photos, smiling captions, public unity, a fairy tale ending. Instead, there was nothing. No warm family tributes, no behind-the-scenes wedding moments, no celebratory interviews. Insiders now claim that silence wasn't accidental, it was strategic. According to alleged leaks, Brooklyn and Nicola returned home emotionally shattered but hyper-aware that every move would be watched, so they didn't lash out, they didn't post cryptic rants. They waited. And then the first sign appeared. Brooklyn quietly updated his name on social media. Brooklyn pelts Beckham. To the average fan, it looked like a sweet gesture. To industry insiders, it looked like a declaration of independence. Sources claimed that inside the Beckham circle, alarms went off immediately because names in that family are not cosmetic. Their currency. Then came the missed moments. A fashion show appearance Brooklyn was expected to attend skipped, a family-related brand event declined, a public congratulations post never uploaded. Fans noticed, media noticed, but no one knew how deep it went. Until the alleged messages began circulating, screenshots, voice note summaries, private conversations shared quietly among insiders, messages allegedly showing Brooklyn describing his wedding night as the moment I understood my place. Another alleged message read, "I didn't marry to stay owned." The internet didn't see these messages at first, but Hollywood did. And once whispers start in that world, they don't stay whispers for long. Then came the second, far more shocking reveal. According to multiple insider sources, Brooklyn allegedly asked for space. Not distance, not time. Space. And the response he reportedly received changed everything. Sources claim he was told that stepping away publicly would damage the family narrative. That phrase, if true, became the breaking point because, according to people close to Brooklyn, that's when he realized this wasn't about healing. It was about optics. Insiders alleged that within days of that exchange, Brooklyn made a decision that stunned even his closest friends. He blocked his parents. Completely. No calls, no texts, no casual check-ins. Communication, sources claim, was reduced to intermediaries, lawyers, managers, third parties, and that's when the story finally went nuclear. Fans began noticing unfollows, tags disappearing, old photos quietly removed. Then came the cryptic posts, a black and white photo with no caption, a song lyric about betrayal, a quote about choosing peace over loyalty. The internet erupted, Twitter threads ran wild, dissecting every emoji, every timestamp, every absence. Was Brooklyn being manipulated? Was he rebelling? Or was he finally free? And then, just as speculation reached a fever pitch, an alleged insider dropped a bombshell. According to this source, the wedding dance wasn't the only issue. They claimed there were conversations before the wedding, contracts discussed, expectations set, and when Brooklyn allegedly resisted, tension escalated, whether true or not. That claim poured gasoline on an already raging fire, because suddenly, this wasn't just about family drama. It was about power. And control. And legacy. Entertainment blogs picked it up. Industry analysts weighed in. PR experts whispered about long-term damage. But through it all, one thing remained consistent. Silence. No public denial. No emotional rebuttal. No attempt to rewrite the narrative, and to some observers, that silence felt louder than any statement because when someone doesn't correct a story, people start assuming there's truth hiding underneath, and just when fans thought the situation had reached its peak, a final alleged detail surfaced that changed everything again. According to insiders, Brooklyn privately told someone close to him, "I already lost them. I'm just making it official," and with that sentence, the question shifted. This wasn't about whether the family could fix things. It was about whether Brooklyn had already walked away for good, and if that was true, then what was coming next would shake the Beckham legacy in a way no scandal ever had. The moment the silence became noticeable, The internet did what it always does. It filled in the gaps. What started as curiosity turned into obsession almost overnight. Fans weren't just watching anymore, they were investigating. Screenshots were analyzed like evidence. Timelines were reconstructed. Every unfollow, every missing tag, every delayed post became a headline, and suddenly, one question dominated social media. What really happened at that wedding? Twitter threads exploded, some stretching thousands of replies deep. TikTok creators posted frame-by-frame breakdowns of the reception footage. Reddit forums lit up with insider claims, anonymous tips, and alleged first-hand accounts. One viral tweet read, "That wasn't a mother-son dance. That was a power move." Another said, "If this were any other family, we'd call it control." Fame doesn't change that. But just as quickly, the backlash arrived. Critics accused Brooklyn of ingratitude, of disrespect, of turning his back on the people who gave him everything. He owes them his life, one viral post claimed. Another wrote, "You don't air family issues publicly, ever," and just like that, the internet split clean down the middle. Team Brooklyn versus Team Beckham. There was no middle ground. Celebrity reactions only poured fuel on the fire. Some stars liked posts about choosing peace, others quietly unfollowed certain accounts. A few posted vague quotes about boundaries and toxic loyalty, setting off speculation that they were taking sides. Entertainment journalists scrambled for answers. PR analysts debated whether silence was smart or disastrous. Brand experts began openly questioning whether the Beckham image, built so carefully over decades, could survive this kind of fracture. And then came the industry whispers. Sources claim luxury brands began asking questions, not canceling deals, not yet, but watching, because family unity had always been part of the Beckham appeal, and now that unity looked fragile. Talk shows debated whether Brooklyn was being controlled or influenced. Panel discussions questioned whether Nicola was unfairly blamed or strategically positioned as the villain. Some headlines framed her as a disruptor. Others defended her as a shield. But what truly shook the public wasn't opinion. It was behavior. Brooklyn didn't correct the narrative. He didn't deny the speculation. He didn't rush to reassure anyone. Instead, he stayed quiet, and that quiet felt deliberate. Fans noticed that Brooklyn appeared calmer, happier, smiling in candid photos, unbothered by the chaos unfolding online. Meanwhile, every public appearance by David or Victoria was scrutinized within an inch of its life, facial expressions dissected, body language analyzed, outfits interpreted for hidden messages. A single caption sparked days of debate. A single song choice ignited thousands of theories, and still no direct response. That silence became the most controversial statement of all. Because in celebrity culture, silence isn't neutral. It's strategic. Some believed the Beckhams were taking the high road. Others believed they were refusing to validate Brooklyn's claims. And a growing number believed something darker was being protected. Then came the most polarizing rumor yet. An alleged industry insider claimed that multiple people had warned Brooklyn against speaking out publicly, not because he was wrong, but because it would fracture the brand permanently. That rumor spread like wildfire because it suggested something chilling, that this wasn't just about feelings. It was about damage control. Suddenly, the narrative shifted again. This wasn't a family dispute. It was a clash between personal truth and public mythology, and once that frame took hold, there was no pulling it back. The final straw for many fans came when a well-known commentator said on a live broadcast, "This doesn't feel like a son acting out. It feels like someone who already mourned the relationship." That line went viral within minutes, and it raised the most unsettling question yet. What if this wasn't a breakdown? What if it was an ending? Because if Brooklyn had already accepted the loss, then everything happening now wasn't emotional chaos. It was confirmation. And that realization sent a chill through the industry, because the moment a legacy family fractures publicly, it never looks the same again. And according to insiders, the most shocking part of this story still hadn't surfaced. Not yet. Just when the world thought the story had reached its limit, A final rumor began circulating behind closed doors, and it changed everything, according to multiple high-level insiders. Brooklyn's silence wasn't confusion. It was preparation. Sources now claim that in the weeks following the fallout, Brooklyn allegedly began documenting everything: conversations, messages, moments he once believed should stay private, not out of revenge, out of self-preservation. One insider described it chillingly. He stopped reacting emotionally and started thinking strategically, and then came the revelation no one expected, according to leaked whispers within the industry. Brooklyn has allegedly been approached, quietly, about telling his story, not in a tabloid interview, not in a messy social media rant, but in a controlled, long-form format, a sit-down, a documentary, possibly even a memoir. Nothing confirmed, nothing announced. But enough smoke to make people nervous, because if Brooklyn ever speaks fully on his own terms, this story stops being speculation and becomes history. And that's when panic allegedly set in. Sources claim conversations shifted tone behind the scenes, not emotional appeals, not apologies. Strategic concern, because according to insiders, the real fear isn't what Brooklyn might say. It's what he might confirm. And then came the most unsettling claim of all. One insider alleges that the wedding dance was never meant to go viral, but it was meant to send a message, a reminder, a boundary, a public assertion of hierarchy. Whether that's true or not, the damage was already irreversible, because for Brooklyn, that moment didn't feel like love. It felt like erasure. And once someone feels erased, they don't come back the same. Friends now claim Brooklyn has accepted that reconciliation may never happen, not because he doesn't care, but because, in his words, some distances are healthier than closeness. That line alone sent shockwaves through people who heard it, because it didn't sound angry. It sounded final. Meanwhile, insiders claim the Beckham family is grappling with a reality they never planned for: a legacy fractured not by scandal, but by silence. No explosive lawsuits, no public screaming matches, just a slow, undeniable separation. And that may be the most damaging outcome of all. Because fans can forgive mistakes, they can even forgive conflict, but what they struggle to understand is permanent distance. As of now, there are no signs of reunion, no shared holidays, no public acknowledgements. Just to narratives moving in opposite directions. And one unanswered question hanging over everything: was that wedding dance the moment Brooklyn chose freedom, or the moment the family lost him forever? Because if insiders are right, and if Brooklyn ever decides to speak without filters, this story won't end with speculation. It will end with truth. And not everyone is ready for that. Now it's your turn. After hearing everything, one question matters more than all the rest: was Brooklyn Beckham right to walk away, or did he cross a line that can never be repaired? Do you believe that wedding dance was an innocent moment taken out of context? Or do you think it was the final power move that pushed him to choose freedom over family? And what about Nicole? Is she being unfairly blamed for a fracture that was already there? Or did her presence accelerate a breaking point that was always coming? The internet is completely divided, and we want to know where you stand. Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. No filters, no holding back. If you believe family loyalty should come before everything, hit the like button. If you believe peace is worth walking away for, make sure you subscribe. And don't forget to turn notifications on, because this story isn't finished. More leaks are rumored. More details may surface. And if Brooklyn ever decides to speak openly, everything could change.